Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be doing a 10-team PPR mock draft on Sleeper. In this video, we're going to be drafting from the 7 slot on Sleeper, and we're going to go ahead and just discuss my thoughts throughout this 2021 fantasy football mock draft, talk about some of the picks that I like, some of the picks that I do not like, and then at the end, we'll go over some of the other parts of the draft that I may not have went as in-depth with. Now, in this video, we are going to be drafting on Sleeper against the computer, which is a little bit different to what I've been doing in the past couple of videos on Yahoo, but I wanted to go ahead and make this video a little bit quicker because I did not have as much time today, so I do apologize for that. If you guys do end up enjoying this video, though, it should still be long enough to where you can get a lot of value in this video. Please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below, because not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 fantasy football championships. Real quick before we get into it, just to look at the roster settings in this draft, we're going to do 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wideouts, a tight end, flex, kicker, defense, and we're going to do 6 bench spots. Now, with the kicker and defense, I typically wait until the last round to draft either of those positions. In some kind of websites that you draft on, you don't even have to draft a kicker or a defense, but I assume most people do, so I normally do that. I don't cheap out on you guys and just draft an extra running back or wide receiver, which is what I may end up doing, honestly, if I was on a website that allows you to do that in a real draft. So the draft begins with Saquon Barkley, followed by Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Alvin Kamara, Jonathan Taylor, and Derrick Henry. Now, we are up on the board. 6 running backs is the first 6 picks. That is going to be very typical of fantasy football drafts in 2021 and has honestly been the mainstream of the last, I would say, probably 3 years. 3-4 years, it feels like almost every single pick in the first round is going to be heavily dominated by the running back position. That's because the running back position is so top heavy. It's so hard to find a guy that's going to be a workhorse week in, week out, getting so many touches, and having a running back that also, a majority of these guys can catch passes besides Derrick Henry, but Derrick Henry has the potential to rush for like 2,000 fucking rushing yards, so people are still going to obviously draft him inside of the first round. It's very hard to find these workhorse backs throughout the draft, so that's why they go off so quick. And then you're going to see a wide receiver brigade later in the draft, maybe around rounds 2 and 3, and then eventually the running backs start getting sprinkled in a lot more heavily. So at our pick here, looking at the running back position, Ezekiel Elliott still available, Austin Eckler, Nick Chubb, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, Cam Akers still available at the wide receiver position. Literally everyone's available. Same thing goes with the tight end position. Now, normally I am a guy who waits on the tight end position. I'm not a guy that wants to go ahead and reach up and get a guy, but the more I've thought about it, the more I feel very comfortable drafting Travis Kelce inside of the first round. In most drafts in 2021, I believe he will be a first round draft pick. I would be surprised if he fell into the second round. Now, this is a 10-team league, so the likelihood of that happening is much higher, but I personally am willing to pull the trigger on Kelce at this spot. He is the #1 overall tight end, in my opinion. With Patrick Mahomes, this offense is going to be buzzing in 2021 yet again, and obviously, I normally wait on tight end, so I'm drafting a guy much later, and in that case, you're kind of worried every single week when you're streaming these guys. You're like, you know what? Hopefully this guy is the tight end that ends up working out for that week. I make videos during the season. I'm like, which tight end should you start this week? And it's a bit of a gamble, but when you draft Travis Kelce in the first or second round, you draft a guy like Kittle or Waller early, then you're just week in, week out, locked in with this tight end who's going to get you a decent amount of points, and it's just about having some comfort in your roster. Again, early tight end is not for everyone. I used to not be about that lifestyle, but more recently, I've kind of thought about it and understood it much better, and I feel comfortable doing it. So after we went Travis Kelce, Devontae Adams came off the board, followed by Stephon Diggs, Ezekiel Elliott, Tyreek Hill, Austin Eckler, and Calvin Ridley. So typically, I like to say a good a good wavelength of thinking is to get 2 running backs out of your first 3 picks. Now, obviously, you don't have to follow that trend because the draft could go anyway, and right now, if I really loved DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, or DeAndre Hopkins, I would tell you to just draft them because that is how you view it. But the running backs here are still very solid. I think here, with either 9-inch Nicholas Chubb or Aaron Jones, you should be very happy with this selection. I like Aaron Jones a lot. I like Chubb a lot. Now, I do have Chubb ranked higher than Aaron Jones, but if I'm being honest with you, if Aaron Rodgers ends up returning in 2021, 2021 and is the Packers quarterback, which is not 100% locked in stone right now, etched in stone. I would go with Jones, but based upon what we know right now, I'm going to go with Nicholas Chubb of the Cleveland Browns. The guy will not be getting too many receptions, obviously, with Kareem Hunt in the lineup, but he is a player that does have a lot of value because of how much the Cleveland Browns run the ball under Kevin Stefanski. After, I went with 9-inch Nicholas Chubb. DeAndre Hopkins came at the board, followed by A.J. Brown, DK Metcalf, Ron Jones, Pat Mahomes, Keenan Allen, Cam Akers, Darren Waller, George Kittle, Michael Thomas, Justin Jefferson, and Joe Mixon. So a lot more wide receivers going in the second and third round range. Kittle and Waller going in the third round. That is going to be very typical of a lot of leagues, to be honest with you, so don't be surprised if that ends up happening. So Mahomes in the second round, also pretty normal. So now we are into the third round of the draft here. And honestly, I don't know what I want to be doing here. Do I want to go ahead and get a wide receiver that I really like in Allen Robinson, or do I want to play it a little more safe and maybe go with Gibson or Swift? I like Gibson a lot in 2021, so I think he would be the guy that I lean at this spot. Come on, Eileen. I think that's a song. But, yeah, Antonio Gibson, I think, has a lot of upside in this Washington football team offense, especially with the new quarterback, obviously, being there in Washington with Ryan Fitzpatrick. I just think the offense is going to be a lot more fluid than it was last year, and Antonio Gibson really kind of played good even with the shitty quarterback situation, so I'm going to go with Antonio Gibson here in the third round. After Gibson came Cooper, Godwin, Allen Robinson, DeAndre Swift, Robert Woods, McLaurin, and now we are back up on the board. A 1-2-3 run at the wide receiver position, followed by a running back, and then two more wide receivers. So again, guys, a lot of the running backs are going to go early on, and then you're going to start seeing the wide receivers hammered off the board. And then around the 4th, 5th round spot is when you start seeing running backs fly off the board again. Now, at the spot we are at now, I personally do not believe that J.K. Dobbins will be available in a majority of leagues. Now, again, this is a 10-team league, so it is entirely possible that a guy like J.K. Dobbins ends up falling, but based upon what I know, I think Chris Carson will be available for me in the 5th round, and if I like a wide receiver here, I am going to take him. Now, with Julio Jones, I genuinely believe that if he returns to the Atlanta Falcons, he will be a top 10 wide receiver, potentially. Now, there's also a potential that he ends up moving teams, ends up going to the Tennessee Titans, ends up going to other teams that they're talking about. If he goes to the Titans, he has that potential as well. I'm going to draft Julio, but understand that it is a unknown right now which team he's going to end up playing for in 2021. After I drafted Julio Jones, came Miles Sanders, Mike Evans, J.K. Dobbins, Kenny Golladay, David Montgomery, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, DJ Moore, Cooper Kupp, Deontay Johnson, Josh Allen, TJ Hawkinson, and CeeDee Lamb. So 2 quarterbacks have came off the board thus far in this draft and 4 tight ends. Now, obviously, with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, to me, those are the top 2 guys at the quarterback position. But in any league, I think there might not be as much variance as last year. Last year, the number 1 quarterback in most people's eyes was either Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes going into 2020 fantasy football drafts. This year, I feel like it's unanimous that Mahomes is the one guy, and then after that, it could be a variety of guys as your quarterback number 2. Some people, like myself, they like Josh Allen. Other people, they're still on the Lamar Jackson train. Other people, they like Dak. They like Russ. They like Aaron Rodgers. They like Justin Herbert. There's a couple of guys that I could see really being inside of that number 2 spot kind of thought process of, hey, I think this guy's the second best quarterback. TJ Hawkinson, clearly the number 4 tight end in my eyes. For this season, Kelce, Kittle, and Waller are the clear top 3, though. So we are back on the board after that run of the wide receiver position. A couple of running backs, but like I said, here I thought that Chris Carson would still fall to me, and this is who I want at this pick. Our team so far, I'm going to go ahead and actually move myself a little bit. And then I'll move it back, obviously. I don't know what you guys prefer. If you guys would prefer to see all the stats or if you prefer to see the whole team, I'll just keep myself here for a little bit. But we got Nick Chubb, Antonio Gibson, Julio Jones, and Travis Kelce. Now, I'm not necessarily someone that tells you have to have a running back at your flex, but I think if you can have such supreme consistency at the running back spot here, you just go with Chris Carson. But Nick, Najee Harris is available now. I 100% agree. If Najee Harris was available in the 5th round, that you take him right here, you close your eyes, it's a no-brainer, but he will not not be. This is just, I'm trying to make this as accurate as possible. I think Chris Carson could easily be a 5th round pick, but I don't think Najee Harris would be a 5th round pick. I genuinely believe that he's going to end up being a 1st round pick by the time you guys are drafting in late August or early September. After Chris Carson came Kyler Murray, Josh Jacobs, Mark Andrews, Dak Prescott, Najee Harris, and Miles, that bitch, Carol Gaskin. If you guys have ended up enjoying thus far, we're about 10 minutes into this mock draft. Please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. So we are back up on the board here. I like a lot of these running backs, but obviously we don't have a clear wide receiver 2 here with the unknowns of Julio Jones. I want to make sure that I am being a little bit safe at this pick. I do like Tyler Lockett a whole lot, but again, Tyler Lockett is not very consistent when it comes to redraft fantasy football. In best ball, he's a great target because he's going to play these games and he's going to score like 3 points one week, then the next week he takes a defense and skull fucks the shit out of them. He just absolutely eviscerates them, puts their head in a spin cycle and cooks them up and drops like 50 points. Then the next week, he takes a shit on your chest and is terrible. So you want to go ahead and, in my opinion, he is not a guy that I'm really looking to target in redraft, though I do understand the upside is certainly there. I am just not someone that is chasing that. See, if you look right here, you can just see his points just going in and out, up and down, all over the place. So we are going to go ahead here and go with a guy that I like a decent amount in 2021. That is Adam Thielen. I think that Adam Thielen obviously was a little bit banged up last season, did miss one game, obviously wasn't playing the best, but I do think he could potentially return to form if Justin Jefferson slightly kind of goes back and detracts some points. Obviously, I think Adam Thielen's a super safe pick. If you're hunting for more upside, maybe you want to lean with T. Higgins at this pick, but personally, I'm very happy going with Adam Thielen inside of the 6th round. I just feel very safe with Thielen on my team. I think he's a guy that is very, very consistent week in and week out, and he definitely has some upside, especially if the Vikings offense is a little bit better than it was in 2020. After Adam Thielen came out the board, Tyler Lockett came out the board, followed by Lamar Jackson, T. Higgins, Brandon Ayuk, Chase Edmonds at the 6.9. Very nice. I like Kareem Hunt to close out the 6th round. The 7th round began with Melvin Gordon, followed by Juju Smith-Schuster, Russell Wilson, Odell Beckham Jr., David Johnson, Chase Claypool, and now we are at the 7-07. We got Nick Chubb, Antonio Gibson, Julio Jones, Adam Thielen, Travis Kelce, and Chris Carson. Now, typically, I would be a guy that hammers the running back at this spot, but I'm not in love with any of these guys. James Robinson got fucked over, got hit with the 619 Rey Mysterio by head coach Urban Meyer or whoever's controlling the draft by them drafting Travis Etienne, running back out of Clemson. So I'm not sold in on James Robinson. Definitely would not be drafting him here. So I'm going to lean wide receiver, and I'm going to take an upside shot. I went safe with Adam Thielen here. We're going directly for a moonshot here, a home run fucking Pete Alonso here. Cortland Sutton, that is of the Denver Broncos. Now, Sutton obviously was injured in 2020. Only ended up playing, I believe, in the first game of the season. Didn't play all that hot, but was super hot fire down the stretch of the 2019 NFL season. I think he has the potential to cook it up again in 2021. Obviously, whether it's Teddy Bridgewater, whether it's Horsecock Drew Lock, or whether it's Aaron Rodgers, I think that Cortland Sutton does have a lot of potential and was a guy that I really liked going into last draft. I think had he not have gotten hurt, he would have been a very solid piece to that offense in Denver and to your fantasy roster. After we went with Cortland Sutton, Dallas Goedert came out the board, followed by DJ Chark, baby Chark, Raheem Mostert, Rojo, Noah Fant, and James Robinson. That backfield in Tampa Bay is one that I am staying clear away from. Last year, damn near impossible once Leonard Fournette actually started getting playing time to figure out which running back to start. 1 week it's Rojo. They tell you Rojo has the job. Bruce Arians gets on the press conference. He's calling on the phone. He's like, you know what? This is a Ronald Jones week, and you know what you should do? Just do the exact fucking opposite that Bruce Arians says, because every single week it was the complete opposite thing. He says Rojo, and then it's Leonard Fournette. Then he says Leonard Fournette, then it's Rojo, and you're getting just tossed around by Bruce Arians, and you don't want Bruce Arians to be tossing you around. So that's kind of just a situation I'm going to be avoiding. Travis Etienne is a guy that I would not hate drafting inside of the 8th round. I believe his ADP will continue to move up. They're working on him as a wide receiver in Jacksonville. That's what they've been doing. Lands with the I thought that was going to tell us about the fact that they've been throwing him out there as a wide receiver. I think that he is going to potentially become the starting running back in this roster. Do I necessarily love it as him potentially becoming a workhorse? No. But is it possible that he could? Yes, so I will be drafting him here in the 8th round as a high upside selection, obviously, which is what you're looking for at the running back position past, I would say, round 5 or 6. You're just hunting directly for some upside. After we went with Travis Etienne in the 8th round, Aaron Rodgers came at the board, followed by Tyler, yeah, boy, Deebo Samuel, James Conner, Leonard Fournette, Robbie Anderson, Jarvis Landry, Will Fuller, Kenyon Drake, Robert Tonyan, Jerry Jeudy, and Logan Thomas. Now we are back up on the board here. We still do not have a quarterback, but not a whole lot of quarterbacks have came off the board. That's one thing about Sleeper, is that it drafts like you're drafting with smarter people, like you're drafting with people that have been playing fantasy football for a while now. Can you win a league drafting a quarterback in the 1st round? Yes. In the 2nd round, you can win your fucking league drafting a quarterback anywhere. But in a lot of leagues, when you're playing with your regular people, your regular Joe Schmo, your regular fucking Joe from accounting, Tim from accounting, they are going to be drafting quarterbacks early because the quarterback's the face of the franchise. He's the money player in people's minds, even though they're not as important in fantasy football. Sure, having a good quarterback is very important because they could carry your team on a weekly basis, but having that nice running back depth, that wide receiver depth, is also very key in winning. So typically, I wait on quarterback, but in a lot of leages, there's going to be, all these guys are going to be gone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, only 6 quarterbacks, 7 quarterbacks have gone thus far before 9 rounds. In a lot of leagues, 10 quarterbacks have already been taken, or maybe even more because people like to draft backup quarterbacks. So if Herbert was still available at this spot, to me, he would be a no-brainer pick. Justin Herbert, the offensive rookie of the year last year, just tore the league in half, tore my expectations in half. Did everything good, and that was just because Tyrod Taylor got hit with the stabby stab 9,000 by the doctor, and then Justin Herbert got his time week 2 up against Kansas City, destroys them, but they still end up losing that game. But still, Herbert showed a lot of promise last year, looked very good. Destroyed my expectations. He's an excellent quarterback, and I believe that he is worthy of potentially being a top 5 quarterback in fantasy football in 2021. After we went with Justin Herbert, Brandon Cooks came out the board, followed by Jalen Hurts, Damian Harris, Devontae Parker, Jamar Chase, and Devin Singletary. Damian Harris is a guy that I like a decent amount later in drafts. He's just a guy that was scoring decent amount of points last year for the Patriots, and now it might be an even more defined role heavily in 2021. So now we are back up on the board. We have a pretty balanced roster as well as some nice bench pieces. So here we're going to be drafting another running back. Now, obviously, I'm going to be honest with you, there is no way that Mike Davis is available in the 10th round of any draft. Unless you're drafting with people who are not as smart, because I think that Mike Davis is going to end up being like a 5th round pick, a 6th round pick. If you guys saw that picture of him with his legs, this dude looks like he could lift a truck. A Mack truck. Like, he could take on Optimus Prime and lift that man. Or the robot, I guess, is what Optimus Prime is. So, yeah, the dude's huge. There's no way he falls this far. But obviously, since we are this deep in the draft, I'm going to take him because I want to talk about him. Mike Davis of the Atlanta Falcons. He is a running back that is going to be seeing a lot of opportunity in 2021. Sure, Nick, they drafted guys behind him. Okay. They did. But I don't see that much talent out of any of those guys. Mike Davis obviously took over last year for run CMC Christian McCaffrey in 2020 after McCaffrey was suffering multiple injuries. Mike Davis is basically Christian McCaffrey light, the light version of Christian McCaffrey, meaning like when you're drinking like a soda and you have the light version, it's just, has like less calories, maybe not as good, but Mike Davis is really fucking good, and at the discount you can get him at, I love Mr. Mike Davis. But again, I do understand that he probably will not be available in any league in the 10th round unless you're playing with people who are not as smart, and they probably have no idea who Mike Davis is. After that, we see his former teammate, Curtis Samuel, Tariq Cohen, Corey Davis, Hollywood Brown, LaVisca Chenault, Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, Michael Gallup, Matthew Stafford, Zach Moss, Tony Pollard, Kyle Pitts, and Naheem Hines. Kyle Pitts going in the 11th round here. Talked about him in yesterday's video as a must-draft tight end, but people are going to get on their knees. They're going to gawk 9,000 their way into giving Kyle Pitts a top 3 round pick. That's what people are going to talk themselves into. Do not draft him in that case, but in the case we are at now, in the 11th round, I love the value there. Currently, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 running backs and 1, 2, 3 wide receivers. Typically, you want to finish your draft with more running backs than wide receivers because it is much harder to find a running back off the waiver wire that you can start week in, week out, whereas when you're looking on the waiver wire to find a wide receiver, you can typically find a guy that you can just throw in there and hope he has some upside. Now, interesting enough, T.Y. Hilton on Twitter yesterday, he was talking to one of the great, I think he was talking to Reggie Wayne, one of the great wide receivers of the Indianapolis Colts franchise, and he asked him, hey, T.Y., are you going to be getting 1,000 yards this year? T.Y. said yes. Now, I don't believe that, but I like the thoughts by T.Y. Hilton. I like that he believes in himself. But I don't believe in him, so I apologize, T.Y. Hilton. I think you're washed at this point. So here, there's a lot of guys I like. I like Devontae Smith for Philly. I think that he has the potential to be the wide receiver one in this offense. Obviously, I don't love Jalen Hurts, but I think it's a nice pick. I like Pittman. I like Marvin Jones. I like AB. But I'm going to go here with the upside in Devontae Smith. Since, again, we went really safe with Thielen and Jones, I kind of want to hunt for some more upside wide receivers, which is what we went with Devontae Smith and Courtland Sutton. After I went with Smith, we see Mike Licky, Amagasicki, Joey B, Mike Williams, Michael Pittman, Marvin Jones, and Matt Ryan. It seems like the narrative that Joe Burrow may not end up starting week 1 due to injury. He may miss. Maybe week 1, week 2 is kind of gone at this point. If I click on him, I'm not too sure if Sleeper has that on here, but it seems like he will be good to go. Yeah, Joe Burrow on track for week 1 return. Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow, who had reconstructive knee surgery last December, all systems go for the 2021 regular season opener against Minnesota. Which is obviously very good because some people thought that he may not even end up starting the season. So now we are back up on the board here. We went with a wide receiver. We could go running back here. Javonte Williams, no way in hell. He is going to be a 12th round pick. I like J.D. McKissic. I think Williams is going to be like a 6th round pick, 7th round pick. People are going to talk him up. These receivers, I don't really like. We already got a tight end, so no need to draft a backup tight end. You just cut someone later in the offseason or later in the season, and then you add someone to be the fill-in for Travis Kelce, because why would you hold 2 tight ends on your roster unless Kelce ends up getting hurt or something? He's just going to be in a lineup every single week. So we got 2 more spots left, and then our kicker and our defense. So we are going to go with a running back and a wide receiver here. I like McKissic a lot. We did draft Antonio Gibson, so it is definitely a handcuff scenario, but not a reason why I would draft him. I would draft him even if I didn't have Antonio Gibson, because I think he has standalone value in this Washington football team offense. But I do think since we have Gibson, if Gibson goes down, McKissic is going to get a lot of value because he's going to be jolted into the starting running back spot in Washington. After McKissic came Ryan Tannehill, A.J. Dillon, Hunter Henry, Antonio Brown, Jalen Reagor, Evan Ingram, Javonte Williams, Irv Smith, a guy I really like, Tyler Higbee, Kirk Cousins, you like that, Latavius Murray, and Jamison Crowder, the Crowder Nathan. So now we are back up on the board here. We're going to smack on a wide receiver to our roster, and then we're going to go ahead and draft our kicker and defense. So a guy I like a lot actually is Darnell. Here comes the Mooney. Money, 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 dollar, dollar. Hopefully that doesn't get me fucking copyrighted because I sound just like the people who sung that song. Darnell Mooney. This dude is wide open half the time last year. 9-inch Nick Foles misses him. Trubisky misses him. I don't think Justin Fields is going to be missing him. It's more of an upside play. If you want to be safer, maybe go John Brown, but I'm going to go with Darnell. Here comes the Money at this pick. After Money came Sterling Shepard, Jonnu Smith, Jamal Williams, Justin Tucker the fucker, Harrison Bucker the fucker, third leg Greg Zuerlein. We're going to go with kicker, and we're going to get my boy, my old bitch lame, but my Young Ho Koo. I love Young Ho Koo. This guy balled out last year. He made the graphic for the Falcons schedule in 2021. You all know who didn't make it? Julio Jones. That's why I think he's going to get traded, and it seems like he's going to get traded. Even Derrick Henry was beating the fucking drum for him to go to the Tennessee Titans. Now we want a defense. Now with defenses, what you want to be thinking is what defense plays up against a bad offense in week number 1, an offense that you believe is going to be turning over the rock. An offense that you think has a lot of value in 2021 that is relatively easy. So you're going to go ahead here and just draft a team playing up against a bad opponent week 1. I don't have the schedule off the top of my head anymore. So we are going to go with the Washington football team. But again, that is not necessarily how I always do it. So we have finished our draft, our roster. Maybe we can make this bigger. Boom. You can see our whole roster here basically. Finish the draft. Justin Herbert as our starting quarterback, Nick Chubb and AB or AG, Antonio Gibson as our 2 running backs, Julio and Thielen as our wide receiver corp. Our tight end is Travis Kelce. Our flex is Chris Carson. Our kicker is my old bitch lame, but my Young Ho Koo. My defense is Washington football team. My bench is comprised of Courtland Sutton. We got Travis Etienne, Mike Davis, Devontae Smith, J.D. McKissic, and Darrell Mooney. If this is actually how the draft went, I would nut everywhere. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed again. This one was a little bit quicker compared compared to the videos last couple weeks for the mock drafts, but I will be doing a kind of variety. I'll be doing some on Drafter, some on Underdog, the best ball websites. I'll be doing some on Sleeper, some on ESPN, some on Yahoo, some on NFL. So you guys will get a variety of different looks, as I know everyone plays on different websites. I love you guys all. Have a great rest of your guys' day. Make sure that you stay safe. And as always, I love you guys. Stay safe. Goodbye.